So today, hold on, let me share my screen. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes, sir, we are.
Okay, I'll put this up in the notes later. Pick this up if you want to. This is how you will install Maven, but before we get to installation of Maven, let's try and understand if you guys have any experience about Maven or have ever heard about Maven. So who wants to go first, Rutvik or Sai?
To be frank, I haven't like listened to this word yet. Like even when I asked my friends, they were like, "I don't know Maven," so I have to see what Maven is.
Okay, have you heard of Java?
Yes, sir, I used to code in it.
Okay, so in Java, do you know you have to compile your code?
Yes, sir.
What is the command to compile the code?
Not sure. I forgot everything.
Okay, anybody, Rutvik knows? Was that Rutvik or Sai talking?
Rutvik, sir.
Okay, Sai, do you know anything about Java or Maven? You guys have to answer either yes, no, I don't know. That makes the session whole lot interactive. Otherwise, it's very difficult. I've demoed it to you with Bhargav's session. He gets very uncomfortable when somebody doesn't acknowledge whether they understand or they do not understand. So it's very important for you guys to talk back, please.
Then in Java, first we will compile and next we will learn. I think Java C class name dot Java.
Okay, who's talking?
Nikhil.
Okay, so question to you, Nikhil, is have you heard of Java? Have you heard of Maven? Heard.
I heard of Java, sir, and I know how to write codes in Java, but I do not heard about Maven. So this is first time I heard Maven.
Okay, all right. So let's start with the ground up that you do not know Maven. Okay, so let's start with plain old Java. If you write a class in Java, okay, again, you'll understand what a class in Java is, but you don't need to understand being a DevOps resource, okay? A class in Java is fundamentals of how you start writing something in Java, okay? It can be as simple as you don't need to know all of this, okay? Whatever I'm doing. Okay, instead of writing it, let's take something out of the box. Or let's start with Maven because we know Maven, okay? So what you can do is Maven in 5 minutes. That's where I usually start when I do Maven. Just click on this link. I'll put this link for you guys in the description.
Samir, this is safe since you have asked.
Hey, Saif, isn't it too early for you?
I mean, it's normal time for me because I used to start my job at this time, so that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yes, Saif, tell me.
So basically, obviously, I mean, we have been using this Maven in our project. So the way we use is to build the Java project. We use ambient clean install to build the jar file and then deploy to Tomcat and do stuff. So
yes.
And major component is the POM file which we have to use, which includes the dependencies and the plugins or whatever, right? So it uses that and builds a jar file.
So we will see all of that, Saif, and thank you so much for acknowledging that. Right, it really helps. What we will do is we will start with a very basic archetype. I mean, in your career, if you start learning Maven, you probably would have never heard of archetype, or it will be very late advanced stage of learning Maven that you'll hear of archetype. Okay, so we'll start with archetype because I don't have to go and start writing Java program myself. Okay, writing a simple program is very simple, but when we can generate something, why do we write? That's the whole fundamental. Okay, so I'm just copying that command from there, and let me go to the directory where we usually work from. Okay, I'm just pasting this. Before I paste it, let's make some changes to it. Okay. Okay, we're here. Where are you? And let's wrap it. Do you see wrap somewhere?
Word wrap at the top in the view mode. It's
Sure.
there.
Where was it, by the way? Oh, here it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was here also. Okay, so let's read this a little bit. Okay, I know you understand nothing about archetype. Let's say it says Maven Archetype generate. We'll talk about it later. But in Maven, everything boils down to group ID, artifact ID, and version number. Okay, again, we will see that when the POM gets generated. But let's call this my com dot. Let's call it as, let's say, what do you want to call it as? Anything, Lotus Ops, let's say. Okay, and artifact ID is my first app -Java. Okay, artifact ID, we don't need to touch it because this is the archetype's artifact ID. Archetype version, we don't need to. Interactive mode false, we don't have to worry about. I can also do -d version equals to 1.0.0 hyphen snapshot. Let's do that. Okay, I'll copy this from here and paste it over here, as simple as that. Okay, didn't copy. Right click and paste and enter. I'm hoping it'll generate some code for me without asking any more questions because I've set interactive mode as false. And I should see some folder over here. There you go. So that's my artifact ID, which I'd used, my first app Java. Now, if I go inside it and do a code dot, people usually use IntelliJ to build. Since we are not going to do anything with Java, we'll still use VS Code. You can technically use VS Code even to compile Java. And now if you go, this is the POM file that Saif was talking about a minute back, right? So let's look at the POM file. If you look at the POM file, don't worry about all the noise, what is in there. That will scare you. Don't worry about it. The only thing that you really need to worry about are these three fundamental concepts that I talked about. Group ID, artifact ID, version number. The version number that I gave earlier on, 100-snapshot. By default, it is 100-snapshot 2. The artifact ID is this, my first app Java, and the group ID is com.lotusops, com.lotusops. Okay. It is building actually by default and it's generating the classes for me. But before we go and look at the target, let's go to SRC main. So the format in Maven is SRC main Java and SRC test Java. All your actual classes, and again, you don't have to really know this, but it's great if you know it. I'm coming in DevOps from a dev world. I used to do Java programming earlier on, so I really find interesting to know this. Okay, and if you notice here, com Lotus Ops, that is the group ID over here. And similarly, when you go to test Java, there's com Lotus Ops. So let's look at this one class that I was trying to write earlier on, right? It's public class name, public static void main, string, which is the array of type arguments of type string array. Okay, that's what it is. That's how you read it. That's the variable name. And then you do system.out.println and hello world. So what it is doing is nothing really great. It is just printing out hello world. Similarly, if you go to test.java, it is using the JUnit dependency over here, and we'll talk about that dependency in a second. But just so that you do not worry about it, don't worry about any of this at the moment. What we do is we have annotated it with @test, and we are saying assert true. That means we are just saying, okay, the test just passes. You're not trying to do anything over here. Okay. Again, since this is not a Java class, I'm not going to delve deeper into it. What we want to really do is to be able to build this. That is the work of DevOps, to be able to build it. So we should be knowing how to read the POM file really well. So I had told you about this thing over here, which is important. As you move down, you'll see this dependency, JUnit. Okay. If I remove this JUnit dependency, for that, let me just go ahead and run this command for you. Again, don't worry about it. Maven clean compile, let's say. I just want to compile. See, it successfully compiled. It generated a target file and the classes is generated. It's over here. Okay. If I remove this dependency, which is JUnit dependency over here for a second, okay, just so that you feel where we're going. And if I run this command, just look at the error that we are going to get. Okay, build was modified. Yes. Okay, let's modify it. And now if I run it, okay. Okay, not compile, because compile doesn't have that dependency. This compile over here, this doesn't have JUnit dependency, but this test has a JUnit dependency. So we'll do a Maven clean test. You see that error? And it clearly says the package org JUnit does not exist. Okay, this should ring a bell in you that, hey, you know what? Java works by dependencies or libraries, and the JUnit library is missing. And where do you define the JUnit library? It is defined over here. Again, DevOps doesn't necessarily need to worry about it, but there are some aspects that I would show you about DevOps, which would mandate that you know about this. Okay. So again, I'll do a Maven clean test, and this time it should not fail. See, one test run. One was successful, 0 failures, 0 errors, 0 skipped, so on and so forth. Okay. So there are these 3 things you know about now, and I'll give you opportunity to ask me questions, and you understand that dependencies you can add in this dependencies section. Okay. Plugin management, don't worry about it. We will come to it eventually. But for now, I'll open up the ground for you guys to ask questions. There are only 3 things we've seen. We've seen that we went to Maven in 5 minutes and we picked up the archetype from there, creating a project. Okay, this one is the archetype of Maven Archetype Quick Start. So it's a simple Java project. You have several more archetypes. If you guys are interested, we can, look at it. And basically the idea of the archetype is to generate this skeleton project for us, generate the first skeleton project for me. Okay, we did that. And once we did it, we looked at the POM file and we looked at the second thing was we looked at the group IDs, artifact ID, version number, and then we looked at the dependencies. So I'll open up the ground for you guys to ask me a question, if any. Else we'll move forward. No?
No, sir.
Okay, did you guys even understand head or tail of it yet?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The next thing is Maven, just installing Maven will just not work, right? So let's go back to this installation for a second and see what it is saying. The installation of Apache Maven is a simple process of extracting the archive and adding the bin directory with the Maven command to the path. Detailed steps are have a JDK installation on your system. So this is very important. You need to have Java installed on your system. Without Java installation of Java, you cannot run Maven. Okay, either set the Java home environment variable pointing to your JDK installation or have Java executable on your path. Extract distribution archive in any directory, the distribution that you'll download. Okay, you do either unzip or you do tar based download. What is this? A tool, add the bin directory to do whatever. I don't know why this. Do you guys see a black colored note over here? Like your default speaker has changed or whatever?
No, sir.
No, sir.
No, sir, we cannot hear you.
No, sir.